We're standing in Hebron, outside the tomb of the patriarchs, where Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah are buried. And according to some, believe that Adam and Eve are also buried here. This is holy ground. Abraham bought this plot 3,700 years ago, and it was just cave and open field. Today, you see Herodian structure around it. And so that's 2,000-year-old walls. The walls are exactly like the walls that surrounded the temple, what you may be familiar with at the Western Wall, the Kotel. And what you see on the stones is the same embossing as you have at the Western Wall. And what you don't have at the Western Wall, because it was destroyed, are the pilasters, those half columns on the top half. So here you get a glimpse of what it looks like. Where we're going today is very exciting because we're going to the ancient walled city of Hebron from the time of Abraham. When Abraham buys the cave of Machpelah from Ephron the Hittite, they're probably sitting at the gate of the walled city Hebron and making the deal where Abraham notoriously overpays 400 shekels of silver for this cave. And we're going to see where later Hebron is the seat of David's throne. For 7.5 years, David is king of Judah until he unifies the 12 tribes, conquers the Jebusite city, and makes the city of David the capital of all 12 tribes. And that occurs in Hebron, where we're going now. We're going to see the ancient hilltop of Hebron. We're going into this neighborhood of caravans, and we're going to see an excavation that's underneath this 6-story building that reveals ancient artifacts. And this wall over here follows the ancient wall, which we'll see relics of here. We're standing here at the Admot Yishai neighborhood, where the excavation behind me reveals the stepped street that leads to the city gate. And if you look over there, you'll see the ancient street from Abraham's time leading to the city gate. Why is this phenomenal? Because 3,700 years ago, when Abraham buys the Machpelah cave from Ephron the Hittite, they're probably right beyond that car at the city gate, making the pitch and making the sale for the Machpelah cave. And if we climb up now to the roof of this newer building, we can see the Machpelah cave. And before there was all the construction here, Abraham probably could point from there to there and say that field with that cave I want to buy, for my wife Sarah has just died, and this is where I want to bury her. How phenomenal is that, to be here at the ancient site, the ancient steps to the city gate, where Abraham bought the plot of Machpelah from Ephron the Hittite. We're standing beneath the 6-story Beit Menachem. When this was planned in 1998, they excavated and they discovered ancient relics. They found a Canaanite house from 4,500 years ago, And they found an Israelite house from the time of Hezekiah. They also found a broken clay jar with a seal to the king Hezekiah in Jerusalem, Hebron. It said two words, to the king and Hebron. That's the addresser and the addressee. It was just two words, and that is like a 2,700-year-old receipt for the goods, like a tax that they sent when Hezekiah was defending Judea from the Assyrians, who had already dispersed the 10 northern tribes in 732 to 722. So here they began to find the city wall and the street that led to the city gate, a 4-room Israelite house, a tax sealed pottery jar, insignia. And so this is the beginning of uncovering the ancient Tel of Hebron. We're going to move forward and go to the other side of this city wall. The exact other side is also very interesting. We climbed up the 6-story building to give you a peek at what the view would have been before there was any construction on Hebron. So if Abraham is pursuing Ephron to sell the field of Machpelah, behind me, there were empty fields, and there was one field with a double cave in it. That's the Machpelah cave. That's the meaning of Machpelah. And so from here to there, Abraham is here with Ephron the Hittite, pointing at that spot and saying, my wife, Sarah, just died. I want to bury her. Please sell me that plot of land. And Ephron starts negotiating by saying, sure, it's free for you. But Abraham knows that if he doesn't pay for it, it's not really his. And so he insists, I must pay for it. So that's when Ephron hits him with the big whammy price. What's 400 shekels of silver between friends? Please, go ahead, you can have it. And Abraham paid an exorbitant sum that everyone spoke about. It's recorded in history that this is the property of the Jewish people for eternity from 3,700 years ago. So we actually have a bill of sale listed, written in Genesis, in the book of Genesis. The spring that gave life to ancient Hebron is down this way. We're going to ancient Hebron. We've circled around the ancient Tel from the 6-story apartment building to this side of it. A Tel is an archaeological mound, a 7-layer cake of history, which you dig down to uncover the past. The Tel reveals to us the ancient walls from the giants that lived here, the Anakim in the Bible. And then we have the Canaanite walls from 2000 to 1500 BC. And then we have the Israelite period from 1000 to 586 BC. on this sign is the seal that I spoke about from the time of Hezekiah to the king from Hebron. Here's what it looked like when they found it. And Hezekiah fortified this city wall after Israel fell between 732 and 722 BC. Hebron got fortified by Hezekiah. The most recent developments here on Tel Hebron. It was in 2014 that the residents wanted to expand and perhaps build over here, because this is Jewish-owned property. And in 2014, they excavated for a season, and all they found were two grape presses for making wine, which weren't enough to make it exciting for an archaeological excavation. And in the last 2 days of the dig of 2014, they brought in a JCB bugger, and it came and it put its shovel right down here in these stairs. And when it did that, it revealed the steps of a mikveh going down to a big pool. This, they knew, is something important. And it's a very special kind of mikveh. This mikveh has dividing wall, and actually two dividing walls that separate the people going down and the people going up. This design is almost unique. Where is it found? It's found in Qumran. And in Qumran were very religious, priestly class Jews. So what's special here is that this mikveh, ritual bath, is of a type that the strictly observant used. And what's interesting about that is that this whole area of Judea, after Judea fell in 587, 586 BCE, the Edomites took over from the Judeans. And only 400 years later did the Maccabees come and forcibly conquer them and convert them to Judaism. And it turns out that just 100 years later, they are extremely pious. They are bathing in a ritual bath just like the priests of the Essene in Qumran. These are called the Idumeans, and they brought us King Herod. Herod, who went and built the structure protecting the Machpelah cave, who built the temple in Jerusalem. So these Idumeans became fervent Jews, and they helped defend Jerusalem during the Great Revolt in the years 66 to 70. And after the Great Revolt, they're never heard of again. So it seems that in their defense of Jerusalem, their assimilation into mainstream Judaism was complete. Why these ritual baths, the one here and the one in Qumran, are unique is that, you know, in a private home, you don't need a dividing wall. You go in by yourself and you come up the same staircase by yourself. In a public ritual bath, you may have 2 lanes where you go down one lane, you come up the other lane. Here, they were so extremely cautious in not touching someone that's going down to be purified. There was a whole extra lane separating the down staircase from the up staircase. So those going down are going to be purified. They are impure. Those coming up have been purified in the purifying waters of the ritual bath. Now, what is it doing here? I want to tell you that the walls of the city were right behind over here. And there's even a sign here that says the stepped street. The stepped street led from inside the city straight into the mikveh. And what was going on in this area that you see behind me? This was an industrial zone, but an industrial zone of the type that needed to keep kosher because they were making wine and they were making olive oil. And for that, you need to be ritually pure to keep it from being impure. There is also a ceramics industry over here, and I want to walk around and look at a few of the relics from those days. The ritual bath that we just looked at is 85 cubic meters. It's large enough to handle a commercial district like this industrial area we're visiting. But that mikveh, ritual bath, fell out of use at the time of the Great Revolt. So what we are supposing is that the Romans threw dead bodies into there and it became ritually impure, and they didn't try to repurify it. They closed it and they built a new one 3 times as large with 200 cubic meters of water of the same design. The same design. So this was for industrial purposes. We're going to walk around it and we'll see the grape press over here and the olive press over there. And I want to walk us around and we'll go visit the ceramics center. So here you have the sign for the wine press and the olive press. The wine press is a lot of place for treading on the grapes and then gathering up the juice in reservoirs and then storing it and fermenting it for production of wine. The olive press is for harvest. After you harvest the olives, you crush them and you squeeze them and you gather up the oil from them. And the very first oil you gather up is the purest, best sent to the temple. That's the most extra virgin olive oil, and that's how it gets graded. The last stuff to be pressed is used for burning candles. This section here is a potter's workshop and kiln. This is the kiln where you fire it up and glaze the pottery. There were little separating pools where the clay would be filtered, and you would take the finest filtered clay for making the pottery. And I want to take us to one last spot. Let's go look at it. I'm standing now in a small room they call the burnt kitchen. Maybe it was a pantry, or maybe it was a tool shed for the pottery workshop. What's very interesting that they found here? The broken pottery and the key to the door that was made of wood. When we uncovered this just 11 years ago, they found this key and ancient nails from the wooden door. And so what do we surmise? That it was in the year 69 when Hebron is destroyed, before Jerusalem is destroyed in 70, that someone came from the city on the steps street, came to the tool shed or pantry to retrieve some valuable equipment, opened the door with the key, took what they wanted to take, and maybe had their hands full, and left the key in the door. The Romans came and burnt down everything. And when we found it, the door was burnt with the nails and key on the ground in the ashes. This is the doorway. Here's where the key and nails were found from the fire of the Great Revolt, ending in Hebron in the year 69, just a little under 2,000 years ago.